They say a snake only strikes when cornered, but what if the one wielding it is the true predator? During a peaceful family camping trip, my 8-year-old son's scream pierced the night, and I found a venomous viper slithering from his tent. This wasn't a random act of nature, it was a deliberate attack by our HOA president, a woman who thrived on control. When I faced her, holding that same snake, I saw fear in her eyes for the first time. And I knew, the real venom wasn't in the fangs, it was in her heart. This is the story of how a monster's cruelty ignited a fire that burned her world to ash. The community camping weekend was supposed to be a slice of Americana families roasting marshmallows, kids chasing fireflies, and neighbors bonding under the stars. My son, Tommy, had spent the morning building his tent from a tarp, sticks, and some old rope I'd brought from home. At 8, he was bursting with pride, calling it his fortress. He even tied a little flag to the top, a scrap of blue cloth flapping in the breeze. Most families were still unpacking, but Tommy had claimed his patch of earth. Then she arrived. Evelyn Harper, president of our HOA, didn't walk, she strutted, her designer scarf fluttering, clipboard in hand, and a scowl that could curdle milk. Her voice dripped with disdain as she loomed over Tommy's tent. "What is that?" she snapped, as if his creation was a personal insult. "It's my fortress, ma'am," Tommy said, his voice small but polite. "I built it myself." Evelyn's lip curled. "This area is for approved tents only. That eyesore violates HOA standards." "It's not hurting anyone," I said, stepping forward. "He's just a kid enjoying the camp." She didn't even glance at me. Instead, she kicked the front pole of Tommy's tent, collapsing it into a heap. Tommy gasped, reaching to save it, but Evelyn slapped his hand hard. Not a tap, but a sharp, open palm strike that sent him stumbling onto the gravel. His knees bled, but worse was the shock in his eyes, like trust itself had shattered. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I roared, stepping between them. "You just hit a child." Evelyn crossed her arms. "And what are you going to do about it, Jim? Call the HOA board?" "I am the board." Campers watched parents, teens, a few kids, but no one intervened. Tommy clutched his hand, tears brimming but unshed, staring at his ruined tent. I knelt beside him. "It's okay, buddy," I whispered. "We'll rebuild it." Evelyn leaned closer, her voice low. "Teach your boy respect, or someone else will." Her breath carried the sharp tang of peppermint and malice. In that moment, something in me shifted, not just anger, but a cold, calculated resolve. She'd pay, and I'd make sure she felt it. By afternoon, the campground hummed with life grills sizzling, kids laughing. But Evelyn's presence poisoned the air. Her tent, a gaudy monument to her ego, was twice the size of anyone else's, draped in linen with HOA logos embroidered in gold thread. In front sat a woven basket, sealed with a leather strap and marked, "HOA property, do not touch," in bold red tape. She guarded it like a hawk, snapping at kids who wandered too close. When little Sarah from the next site strayed near, Evelyn barked, "This isn't a petting zoo. Control your kid." I clenched my fists, watching Tommy draw in the dirt, his hands still red from her slap. "She's unhinged," a dad muttered nearby. "No," I said. "She's deliberate." I'd noticed her whispering to her lackey, Carl, a weaselly HOA member who nodded and glanced at our tent. Suspicion gnawed at me. "What's in the basket, Evelyn?" I called, stepping closer. She didn't flinch, just tilted her head with a serpent smile. "Wouldn't you like to know?" "I'm not asking," I snapped. "What is it?" She raised a finger. "Touch it, and you're trespassing." HOA Rules, page 19, section 3. Her eyes gleamed with smug certainty. "My rules protect me more than you realize." I stared into her cold, calculating gaze. She didn't just dislike kids, she fed on their fear, on my fear. Whatever was in that basket wasn't camping gear, and the way she smirked at Tommy as she walked away told me she wasn't done. Night fell, fire pits crackling under a canopy of stars. I couldn't shake the unease twisting in my gut. Evelyn's basket still sat by her tent, untouched, a silent threat. During the community esmores, I left Tommy in our tent with his sketchbook and flashlight to grab our jackets from the car. 5 minutes, maybe less. Then his scream shattered the night, raw and terrified. I sprinted back, heart pounding, and tore open the tent flap. Tommy was thrashing on the ground, clutching his leg, his face contorted in pain. Beside his sleeping bag, a black-scaled viper coiled, hood flared, tongue flickering. Instinct took over. I grabbed a metal lantern and slammed it near the snake, startling it into the dark. Scooping Tommy into my arms, I saw the twin punctures on his leg, purple and swelling. "Call 911. I shouted. "He's been bitten." Parents screamed. Phones appeared, and someone yelled for a ranger. Then I saw her, Evelyn, standing at the camp's edge, arms crossed, her face unreadable. "Was that what was in the basket?" I demanded, my voice cutting through the chaos. She tilted her head. "What basket?" "The one you've been guarding all day." I marched toward her, Tommy trembling in my arms. "You think I'm stupid?" She leaned in, her whisper venomous. "If your kid hadn't disrespected me, he'd still be doodling in the dirt." The world froze. I nearly dropped Tommy to lunge at her. "Say that again," I growled. "Play stupid games, win deadly prizes," she hissed. Carl grabbed her arm, muttering something, but she waved him off, eyes locked on mine. "You're lucky I don't bury you right here," I said, shaking with rage. "Funny," she replied. "I was thinking the same thing." Paramedics were 10 minutes out. Tommy's breathing grew shallow, his skin pale, sweat dripping as I held him by the fire pit. A neighbor offered ice and a belt for a tourniquet, but my eyes were on Evelyn, standing across the campground, smug and untouchable. "Where's the antivenom?" I shouted. "What kind of HOA doesn't stock emergency kits for a campsite?" She didn't blink. "If your son had stayed in the safety perimeter, this wouldn't have happened. You put a viper in his tent." I roared, stepping forward. "I saw it. You know what you did." She raised a brow. "Allegedly." Her mockery snapped something in me. I handed Tommy to Mrs. Larson, a retired nurse, whispering, "Keep him awake." Then I lunged, grabbing Evelyn's pristine HOA jacket and shoving her into her folding table. It splintered as she fell, screaming, her clipboard skidding into the dirt. Carl rushed me, but I elbowed him in the ribs, dropping him. "I should snap your neck," I hissed, towering over her. "You'll go to jail," she spat, scrambling back. "I'll go smiling," I growled. "You tried to kill my kid." She reached for something under her Jaquita silver canister. She sprayed insecticide in my face, burning my eyes and throat. I staggered, coughing, but saw her sprinting to her tent. Wiping my face, I stormed after her. At her tent's entrance, I stopped, clarity cutting through the haze. She was scared now, finally. "Run, Evelyn," I called into the dark. "But you won't get far." As the ambulance took Tommy away, sirens fading, rage hardened into purpose. I walked past the stunned campers, past Carl groaning in the dirt, to our tent. There, by the fire pit, was the viper, coiled and calm. With a fire glove, I grabbed it by the neck, squeezing just enough to stun it. Its hiss was weak, but its anger mirrored mine. I marched to Evelyn's tent, her lanterns glowing behind silk walls. Tearing open the flap, I saw her clutching her phone, screaming, "I'm recording this." I didn't speak. I threw the snake. It landed on her chest, and she shrieked, flailing. Too late, the viper struck, fangs sinking into her cheek. She fell, knocking over candles and a propane lantern. Flames licked the tent's edge as she thrashed, screaming. The snake slithered off, confused. I stepped out, calm, as fire consumed the silk. Her screams turned raw, desperate. Campers ran to help, but I didn't look back. She'd survive Maybebet, she'd never forget the bite or the flames. Neither would I. The fire spread fast, Evelyn's tent collapsing into embers. She stumbled out, clawing at her face, one side blistered, hair burned to the scalp, her dress smoldering. "Help me," she wailed, collapsing in the dirt. I crouched 2 feet away, locking eyes with her ruined face. "Now you know what Tommy felt when your monster bit him," I said quietly. "It was just to scare him," she whimpered. "Save it," I snapped. "You smiled while he suffered." I pulled her up by the collar as she shook, smoke curling from her clothes. "You like control, Evelyn? Control this." I let her fall, groaning, as fire crews arrived, extinguishers hissing. Someone asked, "What happened?" I answered without turning. "Justice, well done." Medics wrapped Evelyn in foil blankets, but her disfigurement was stark, half her face swollen, lips cracked, clipboard still clutched like a lifeline. "Keep them away," she rasped. "They violated HOA rules." "Shut up," I said, standing by the fire truck, ash staining my shirt. "You tried to kill my son. You're garbage now." Mrs. Larson spoke up. She smiled when Tommy screamed. I saw it. Another camper added. She said the viper was a lesson. Murmurs spread. The fire marshal approached Evelyn. You're under investigation for reckless endangerment, illegal wildlife possession, and fire hazards. A deputy cuffed her as she screamed, I'm the HOA president. The cuffs clicked, final and loud. She snarled at me. You think you've won? I leaned close. No, but you've lost everything. 3 days later, Evelyn sat in a hospital wheelchair, bandaged and disfigured, in a half-full courtroom. The judge listed her charges: child endangerment, arson by negligence, and illegal possession of a venomous species. How do you plead? Not guilty, she whispered. I gripped the bench. Not guilty. After she'd unleashed a viper on my son and watched him writhe? Her lawyer claimed it was an educational display gone wrong, but a GoPro video from a camper's kid showed Evelyn laughing as she opened the basket. It only needs to scare him, she'd said. If he can't behave, nature will teach him. The courtroom froze. The judge leaned forward. That's intent, Miss Harper. You're finished. She slumped, defeated. Evelyn received a 27-year sentence with no parole. The verdict didn't heal Tommy's nightmare. She woke, gasping. Dad, the snake. But it closed the door. His leg healed, though he walked slower, his sketchbook now filled with a viper he called Protector, adorned with our family initials. The HOA dissolved, replaced by a volunteer council. Neighbors shared stories of Evelyn's tyranny, finding a family for their son's humming, locking a dog in a shed. Her reign of fear collapsed. Weeks later, Tommy and I returned to the campground. The scorched earth where Evelyn's tent stood was bare. Can we rebuild my fortress? He asked. We built it bigger, no rules, no judgment. As I drove the final stake, I whispered, You brought a snake into our lives, Evelyn. I taught it how to bite. Justice isn't always clean. Sometimes it hisses, sometimes it burns. Evelyn wasn't just a woman with a viper. She was a symbol of power twisted into cruelty, of rules weaponized to silence. Her fall freed us, but the scars linger. Tommy's Protector hangs on our wall, a reminder not of fear, but of resilience. What would you have done if someone hurt your child like this? Would words have been enough, or would you have fought fire with fire? Share your thoughts below on justice, on violence, on standing against cruelty. Your voice matters. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more stories that expose abuse and champion truth. Stay vigilant, because sometimes the real snakes wear human faces.